All right, so it's time to do this one here. We got Agua Caliente Casino Palm Springs. We're going to be adding a Watchfire electronic message center to one of our existing monument signs. It's pretty straightforward, but the monument itself has some second opinions about that, but I think we can make it work. So let's get into it. So let's do lay of the land. We got sort of a simple, basic 090 frame. Just look for corner jigs, and you get a bunch of little doors here to seal up the bottom and the sides. And it's gonna be 1/4 inch. We're just gonna have the mounting bar for the screen actual, and you'll have the bottom there, and you'll have some gussets. We'll go over that, and then what I'm calling the boots here. And we have a pattern. We'll go over that. We've got some install stuff coming up. Okay. So the frame itself is just going to be simple 09, like I said, but it's going to be supporting the screen. The screen is about 500 pounds, so it's not light, but it's not super heavy. But the issue is that this sign is so funky. It wasn't really designed to have a screen attached to it. So we're going to go over all that mounting here. But in order to sort of distribute that weight evenly, we're going to have a crisscross of different bars and sides. So get your frame all made up here. But before you tack it together, we'll go over this. So we got a pretty good cut list here. You got some 1.5 by 3, just the usual bighorn stuff there. So get these all cut up. And then you also have some 3 by 3 by 3/16. If you don't have 3/16, go ahead and look for some 1/4 inch. I don't want to do 1/8 inch. I mean, 1/8 inch might be okay, but you probably want to bring in a stick, because what we're doing is matching the strength of these here, post 1 and post 2. The existing posts are 3/16. So I wanted to at least match that strength. So anyway, so what you're going to do is kind of like how we do a lot of these, is you're going to put the frame together mostly. You're going to do your verticals. You're going to do 3 sides. But go ahead and leave one side off, and that's going to allow you to skewer through. I kind of color coded there. So you got your 2 106s here. They're going to skewer through. And then what you're going to do is take the mounting plate here on the top and here on the bottom, and you can see where I have reference kisses. These are going to be on the outside, so they're going to match where this purple and this orange actually go. So you can see where, like this is just like a prototype version, but you can see, let's get a different color. How about there. So you'll see where your 1.5 by 3 will sit on top of the 1/4 inch. Or I take that back. Let's look at a side view. Make more sense. Okay, so this one here will be your vertical, and this one here would be this one. Yeah. Right. So this one here is towards the back. And then what you're going to do is just lay, these are loose. They're just going to sit on top of this bar here. And it's just going to sit on top of this bar here. Then you're going to bring in the 1/4 inch will sit on top like that. But the 1/4 inch will have Cleco holes for the frame. So if we bring that, there you go. So you'll have 193s right here that will register this 1/4 inch bar on top of your frame, and then also on top of your struts here, your verticals. So you're going to do the same thing on the bottom. You've got 193s right here. You got 193s. So what I'm picturing is leave this off, skewer this through, and then put these inside. But I think you can put these in after. Then, so yeah, maybe slide this through, get this on, and then Cleco this in place. And then what you're going to do is after you Cleco it, you're going to self-tap it through the 1/4 inch into the 090 using what I brought in. Look for this McMaster car. This has both install and, basically install, but also for fab. So you're going to be using these 5/16. Don't use the standard stuff we use. You're going to use these 5/16 bad boys. And you can see the screw heads here. So Cleco this onto the frame. Go ahead and shoot the screws in through where the orange is, and that will hold it in place. Then what you can do is at that point, because you won't be able to see it because this will be blocking, then you slide these in and they'll pinch between the 1/4 inch and here, and then you can flip this over on your table so that way you can actually see what's going on and get your gun in here. But the idea is that then you match up these guys here to the reference kiss, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it lined up. Then go ahead and tack it. And then what you're going to do is burn this very well right there. And, you know, you're going to burn these to the 1/4 inch plate. And then wherever these cross here, then you're going to burn that really well as well. So I kind of have that laid out, but it's pretty obvious. You're going to burn that. You're going to burn this to this. And then also these crosses, you're going to go ahead and tack those to your verticals. The verticals, I went ahead and just tried to save time and no jigs. So the verticals tuck inside the frame, but you want to make sure that you burn the verticals to the frame also really well. But that'll save a little bit of time and jigs. So you only have jigs in the corners. But anyway, so Cleco this bar to the frame, then go ahead and shoot your screws, and that'll hold the bar to the mounting bar to the frame permanent. Then you can flip it over, and then you just permanently weld everything in. Now you got 2 shorties here that die out right with this support, because you have like Watchfire puts all their stuff in the corners. Now I didn't know exactly which data, which would be where or whatever. So I just left this kind of open and sort of universal. Watchfire doesn't really scale their drawings. They just give you the dimensions, but they give you a generic. So I kind of just scaled and estimated where these kind of would land. So I think we're clear. These 2 datas here are right up on the frame. So I notched the frame as best as possible. But when you go to put the screen on in the field, just make sure, just kind of watch and make sure that nothing bonks that. Otherwise, you might have to stop the pick and kind of maybe modify that a little bit. Hopefully not. So anyway, just look for that. But that's good. That's getting ahead. So Fab, yeah. So get this all together, screw this on, weld all this up really well. And then I think we're good as far as that's concerned. Do the same thing down here, screw it along. This row of screws that you see on the top and the bottom, like right here, that is to the frame. That is for fabrication. So you're going to be screwing that right there. That's Fab. All the rest of these screws will be left for install. So this whole perimeter inside screws, so Fab doesn't have to worry about any of these. These are purely for install, just to help screw this frame to the existing sign. So get all this welded up, and now let's talk about the support legs that shoot out. So now that this frame's all done, as far as that's concerned, this is how it's going to mount to the actual sign. So you have the existing 090, and then the existing sign has these 2, what I called the jacks back in the day. These are 3x3 by 3/16. So that's why I kind of want to match that material. So, and then you're going to have 2 horizontals, the main kind of strength brace. So the fact that this thing's so funky and there really isn't a way to attach a 500-pound screen, we're going to be really relying on shear force of a lot of screws, but that's only an 090, and it'll have some framing, and it's probably strong enough, quote unquote. But in order to really get some structure, the only thing we can do is get to these 2 posts. So I'm calling them post 1 and post 2, but you can see how cantilevered the sign is all the way out here, and it's going to span onto another cabinet on this side. So, but basically, in order to attach that, I have what's called the boots here. So you're just going to weld up these 1/4 inch boots. These are just, dog bones. The main thing though, do not weld on this side of the channel, because that's obviously for the 3x3, and then the post 1 and post 2 go here. So, but on the inside here, go ahead and burn it up nice and strong. And then before you weld in these little structural struts, I have a drill instructions here. So from just pick an end. So you have your 15 3/4, and you have your 17 and 1/4. So you're just going to go 1.25 inches in, and then you're going to go 3. And this 1/2 inch equidistance, make sure it goes through both sides. So that will be already pre-drilled for our boot. So as you can see here, that'll go there. and then that'll go there. And then install, we'll just put the boot on inside, and then they can bolt this up. And then install will then match up and just drill in the field through these 2 holes. And then it'll all be 1/2-inch bolts that will attach there. Now you can see where this outline is where the door panel is. You should have plenty of room. You can see where this comes down like that. So you'll be working in this area install. It should be decent enough access for you, I hope. So we'll see. If not, you got your saw, you might have to make some chop some chunks out, because I know you have this brace going through here. So if this gives you, if this is kind of in the way or something, you might have to cut out a little bit of this, but hopefully not too much. Anyway, so for Fab to install these 2 legs, you have all this welded up all nice. But I would refrain, see where this is right here and this right here, that's where these go. Refrain from getting too fillet weldy right here yet. Or if anything, just tack this together, and then when you get this in there, then you can just burn everything really well. But anyway, so the way it works is that because the posts are off center, this one is actually going to be over here, shifted over and attaching underneath here and to the side of this vert. That's the longer 17 1/4. The 15 one is on post 1. Make sure it's to the very left here, the left side. It's just going to bonk directly against, and it's going to be underneath this bar. So you can see how that works, where all the stress and load will come from the screen down these bars and essentially through the first one. This one will do all the work. This bar will then hang sort of on here and on here, and then that will transfer that load over to the, here onto that bar there. But of course, this is super cantilevered, and without the frame actually touching the rest of the sign, this would be horrible and probably bend down. But because we have the ability to go ahead and shoot screws through the rest of it, I'm confident that, the overall load spreading of all of these screws and the fact that this won't allow it to actually fly off will be fine. So anyway, so what you're going to do is bonk there. Like I said, make sure there's no fillet weld there yet. Don't get froggy yet. Slide that in and under, and then you can go ahead and burn it all the way around. So a side profile is here. So you can see where like this would be the shorty. Let's go ahead and make it this color. That would be the short. It dies up against this little post, goes up underneath there, and then now you can burn it really well there, and you can burn it up on the top, get it all filled in there really well. And then let's see. The next one would be this one here. Now this is the longer one but like I said, because the post is off center of this, you're just going to go ahead and make that one. Let's make this one this color. So you'll see where it goes past and it tucks underneath. So that gives you the ability to do fillet weld there. You can fillet weld here, and then you can actually fillet weld along the side of this strut. And then that way, and then get up underneath, and just everywhere you can get a nice fillet weld, just make sure this is nice and welded. And then you can see where I have a little bit over 1/4 inch to have space there. So this will be permanently welded on, and install when they go to stick it on there. They'll have a little bit of room of play, hopefully. Just kind of test fit it, make sure it fits on there well before you get too crazy and dedicated to nailing it down. And then finally, what I did is just as an added thing, I made some gussets. I got 3 of them. So what you would do is just put the gusset in the middle of, so this only works for like the shorty here. You can put a gusset on both sides and essentially just burn it to the mid wall of each of these. So like this would be the shorty. You could burn it here and here, and then just get it on the inside, and that will help give it some strength as far as like a 90. So you can see where that plate's right here. You can do it on the sides there and then burn it. Like I say, just pick a half wall kind of right there and just kind of burn it down. Now, because this one's staggered, you could basically tuck one against the side of this vertical and then just tuck up underneath, and then that will give it that shelf, and at least it's better than nothing. But you're getting more, because this one just dies out against the back here. This one kind of needs it. But because this one goes long, you can just sort of tuck it up under here. This one already has like all this weld here. It's got a little more, but if you want to use it, I don't think it's the end of the world if you can't get it in there. If it doesn't work, it's fine. But at least on this one, that's good. Now, you can see where the load distribution is very, justified to the left. So that's why this row of screws for install is going to be very important, because really this is all that's touching on the very right side. So we're hoping that that's going to be plenty. So between here, and a full perimeter of screws, that should be it for install. So for Fab, I think that's it. Weld up your boots here. You're not doing anything with these in the shop. Just get them welded up, get them cleaned up, make sure there's no boogers inside there, and then this is going to be all for install. But you're just making, these guys are going to stick out, but you're just permanently making this frame. And once you get this frame done, it goes out to paint. You're pretty much done with it. So I think that's it for Fab. So let's go over install. So install, as you can see, the screen barely grabs any framing whatsoever on the edge. So you can see right here, this is the edge, and this will be the inside. The blue here is actually the frame inside. Or the outside of the frame here. So really this is all you have to catch. So that's what I was saying is like on this particular chunk here, you can see where that little row of screws is going to be pretty important. And I think that's going to be just right. I think it's going to just make it. So what you're going to do is take your pattern. So I made a pattern here. To keep the pattern manageable, I went ahead and chopped it here. So what you're going to do is the pattern really is just going to give you spot to cut out for the two struts going into the sign. I eliminated some of the letters here that were in the way of holes that you might pre-drill. So this is self-parking. So because install, I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take out all the push-throughs, So you're going to have to take the back off of this, take all the push-throughs out, but then you will have these letters here to kind of reference. Plus, you have the seam. There's a face seam here. So I'm sure even though we bonded it really well, you can probably find that seam. So if you take this pattern, you should be able to line up on this particular panel, find that seam, and then you can also use these to sort of line up with the openings. Get it level, double check your height. The screen itself is 65 from here. So it'll be obviously, all the way down here somewhere. So make sure it fits, make sure everything's all good. Then you can, make 4 holes or whatever, or if you just use your grinder or whatever. But you're going to cut out this is a 6x6. The 3x3 will fit right there. I'm just giving you plenty of room. But it's important that where this frame ends up, you have to make sure that these 2 struts here that poke out the back are in line with the posts. So you'll sort of like pre-mount this frame, but you got to hit these posts because these boots have to line up. I tried to give you as much room with these boots as possible, but if I got too much play, then, it'd be hard to tighten them up. So you have a 16th on both sides. So the main thing is making sure that, and I'll make this a different color just to make it stand out. So you got to make sure that this is in line with these 2 posts based on those holes. So that's what I'm saying. You cut these holes, you got plenty of room, and maybe I gave you some pre-drill holes, but like I said to Jonathan, make sure you bring plenty of batteries because you're just going to be self-tapping them. Maybe somebody could go along and pre-drill, it's fine. But I'm not going to give you a pattern with all the holes. You can just do that once you get the frame. But the frame, it might be a little heavy, but you could probably just get a few of these up just to test it, make sure it fits, and then take your boots and then slide the boots on the inside and make sure everything's lining up okay before you permanently dedicate this thing to permanently mounting. So anyway, so once that's all set though, and you like the way this is, then sure, go ahead and start working your way around. And I have a bunch of holes here. Obviously the splash screen, the waterfall screens right here. So you probably won't utilize a lot of these. But I just went ahead and put wherever they, just use the ones you can. But like I say, the verticals here, but this one is the most important, obviously, to really try to support this side. So anyway, so get the frame nailed down. You can go ahead and run whatever power after that. Before you put the screen on, you can just drill through to get whatever data or whatever. You can run power across. That's why for install, I have these slots down here and I have doors. We can maybe pick and choose it if we want to keep the doors off for ventilation, you know, whatever we want to do. Plus, like I say, I gave you plenty of room here. You take this little door off, you'll have full access to reach your hand in here and make these connections. So get all that dialed in before you put the screens on. And then it's just a matter of putting your bolts. You got your 1/2 inch like we do with Watchfire. Just put 6 across. I'm confident Watchfire would be happy with this because they only want 4 across. And they were worried about how much cantilever. But technically, we're supporting the entire sign across the entire rail. So that's good. You know, I think they'll like that. So, and then once you get, you know, once people start firing off screws and you're happy, then somebody can come around here. Like I said, you're just going to put this up underneath. These holes will already be drilled. Get it fit up where you like it. Snug these bolts up, and then you can just, you know, 1/2 inch drill through and then run your bolts. So I brought in some McMaster bolts. I did a layout. 5 inch works fine. So I brought in some 5 inch bolts just to have them. We've got hardware on the shelf, so you can finish up the hardware assembly. But that's basically what you're doing there is just through bolting. So that's a vertical shot of it there. So, all right. So I think that's it. But like I say, just for install, just make sure that the left to the right, you get these little 3x lined up with your posts 1 and 2. That's the most important before you nail this frame down. So, but that's it. But otherwise, I think we're good. Oh, I did bring in install. I know you guys have a lot of this stuff, but because these are 3/8, because we're using 5/16, these are 3/8 drives. I brought in some 6 inch long boys. Keep an eye out for those. Plus, Fab has a couple, but they don't really need it. But this frame here is 4 inches deep. So in order to access these screws, you just want to make sure you have the tools what you need. So like I said, I gave you a 6 inch drive for that. So but look out for those. But otherwise, I think that's it. So good luck. We're all counting on you.
Check the technique. Check the technique.